thank you all for coming. This is the City Council meeting November 10th, 2020, and we'll call to order. Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Mayor Miller?
Here.
Vice Mayor Bryan?
Here.
Councilmember Fizzlone?
Here.
Councilmember Lindauer?
Here.
Councilmember Place?
Here.
Thank you, Reverend Bob. Can you please lead us in prayer?
Stand with me. O Holy One of all creation, we gather in this room tonight, seeking your wisdom, your counsel, your guidance for the decisions that must be made and the plans for the future of this city. We ask your guidance for all those whom we have placed in leadership positions, that they would hear your word and will for their lives and for the lives that we come here to collectively be in this chamber. As Thanksgiving approaches, even in this challenging and surprising year of 2020, when we have had to face so many things, we ask that you would give us thankful hearts in challenging and surprising ways. Challenge us to be thankful and to see the good in each person, even those whom we find challenging. And surprise us as we find thanksgivings in the most surprising and small ways. Bless our lives and bless our collective life together as citizens, friends, neighbors of Daytona Beach Shores. For we ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Ed Offerman, can you come up and lead us in the pledge, please?
I'd be honored.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we go on, tomorrow, I'm sure everyone knows, is Veterans Day. What a difference from 1 year ago when we had that fantastic celebration that we dedicated the Veterans Park out there. We were planning on having another big celebration, but then COVID hit. But nevertheless, I want to make sure that we give our gratitude and thanks to every veteran that we have in this city and across the country. Before we go on, is anyone a veteran? Could they stand up, please? Next, we're going to go on to Resolution 2020-115, certifying the election results of our two council people. I think there's a resolution that you need to read, Attorney?
I want to recount.
All right, I didn't.
Mr. Mayor, and congratulations to the council members who were reelected. This is Resolution 2020-15, a resolution of the City Council of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, declaring the election of 2 City Council members for Seat 2 and Seat 4 without opposition, declaring other pertinent matters and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Congratulations. So now is the time for the oath of office?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
We need a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I move that we adopt the resolution 2020-15.
Second. Second, thank you. Any discussion on it besides Attorney Politis' recount? If not, Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Councilmember Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilmember Fizzlone?
Yes.
Councilmember Place?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bryan?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Thank you, yes. Okay, are you gonna do Vice Mayor Bryan first?
Yes, would you like to do them down here?
Yeah, please.
Oh, okay, great. Is this good? We're gonna keep.
Yeah. I think you're fine if you want to take that off. If it's far enough away.
All right, are you prepared to take the oath of office, Vice Mayor Bryan? Okay. Repeat after me then, and can you actually trade positions? Typically, you would have your left hand on the Bible and you would raise your right hand. Thank you. I, Richard Bryan,
I, Richard Bryan,
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and the government of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution and the government of the United States
and of the state of Florida
and of the state of Florida
against all enemies, domestic or foreign,
against all enemies, domestic or foreign,
and that I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance to the same,
and I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance to the same,
and that I will in all respects
that I will in all respects
observe the provisions of the charter and ordinances of the city of Daytona Beach Shores,
observe the provisions of the charter and ordinances of Daytona Beach Shores,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
as a council member for the city of Daytona Beach Shores,
as council member for the city of Daytona Beach Shores,
on which I am about to enter.
on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Richard, would you mind if I used your Bible? Thank you.
I have a
We're
note.
right side up.
Sure, please. That'd be nice. All right.
And Councilman Politis, are you prepared to take the oath of office?
Yes, I am.
I, Michael Politis,
I, Michael Politis,
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and the government of the United States
the Constitution and the government of the United States
and of the state of Florida
and of the state of Florida
against all enemies, domestic or foreign,
against all enemies, domestic and or foreign,
and that I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance to the same,
and that I will bear true faith, loyalty, what was the last one?
allegiance
And allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
and that I will in all respects
and that I will in all respects
observe the provisions
observe the provisions
of the charter and ordinances of the city of Daytona Beach Shores,
of the charter and the ordinances of the city of Daytona Beach Shores,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties as council member
the duties as council member
for the city of Daytona Beach Shores, on which, go ahead,
for the city of Daytona Beach Shores,
on which I am now about to enter.
which now I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. Looking forward to working with you both for another 2 years. Okay, and next we are going to go on to the nomination of the vice mayor. As everyone knows, Councilman Vice Mayor Bryan has served for 2 years. Thank you very much, Vice Bryan. I have been very, very happy to work with you. Do we hear a nomination for anyone else for the next 2 years?
I nominate Mel Lindauer.
Thank you.
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, if no discussion, Sherry, do we need a roll?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Sarah, can you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Frizzlo?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Councilmember Politis?
Yes.
Councilmember Lindauer?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes. Congratulations.
I'd like to thank the mayor and the fellow council members for giving me the honor of being the vice mayor of this great city, which I love so dearly. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking forward to working with you in that capacity. Next, we'll go on to the approval of minutes from October 27th, 2020. Do you have a motion to accept those minutes?
No, go ahead, Rick.
Motion to accept.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the minutes? Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Councilmember Frizzlo?
Yes.
Councilmember Politis?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we have 2 items on the consent agenda. Do you hear a motion to accept that consent agenda?
Motion to accept?
Thank you. Second?
There's no consent.
Oh, I thought there was, I'm sorry, no items, so we can,
No items.
okay, so we'll move right along. Okay, great. Next, then we'll go on to our city attorney's report.
Thank you, Mayor. In the past couple of weeks since the last meeting, I've drafted an ordinance as directed by this council at the last meeting regarding PZB membership. Attended the Economic Development meeting with legal counsel. Advised the staff as to the ordinance and the contract for as to phased payments upon request of the staff. Drafted an amendment to the High Tides Economic Development Grant Agreement in accordance with the discussion at the last city council meeting. Conducted legal review of legal documents in advance of the closing of oceanfront property, and happy to report that today the closing occurred. So brought the paperwork to the title company, and they should have recorded it by now. And drafted a letter informing Friars Towing of the contract, and this, I'm going to modify this here a little bit because the situation changed since I submitted this. Give them the opportunity to correct the breach in advance of the possibility of putting the contract out to bid.
Thank you. Any questions on the city attorney's report?
Could you briefly explain the breach?
Yes, so the contract for Friars Towing sets out that they can provide or charge a certain amount for the towing and as well as storage fees. We received several invoices where there were additional charges that were, and the contract, I want to back up, specifically says no additional charges beyond those. And we received several invoices that had additional charges beyond that, such as administrative fees and things like that. So the contract specifically has a provision that allows them to correct the breach within 7 days. So I essentially sent a demand letter demanding that they correct the breach within 7 days by repaying the overcharges, and we'll see what happens when 7 days after receipt of the letter.
Does the 7 days start when you get the invoice?
The 7 days will start when they receive the letter. We sent the letter return receipt request. So on receipt of the letter by the towing company, that will start the 7 days.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions for our attorney? If not?
Can I just have one? Ocean's 25, that's the $800,000 property?
Mm-hmm.
So that's so based on what everyone who participated in that transaction, we just generated $800,000 of revenue for the city.
Right.
And we got something back on the real estate tax record, and so it'll generate even more revenue in the future.
Should, yes.
Well, good job, all those people that helped.
Anything else that would want to ask City Manager Cruz? City Planner Cruz?
Got promoted, George.
Any other questions on that or anything else that you'd want to expand on? I know we've talked about it several months.
I think Councilmember Frizzalone was very integral in this, and he may have something to say later on in the councilmember comments.
Okay, when it comes up. Okay, and thank you for all your hard work on that.
Yeah, Brother Rick,
Check on the bank.
good job.
Good. Okay, now we are ready for the city manager's report.
So what would you like to do?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Halifax Health, demolition of the former senior center and the city council chambers is anticipated to begin after Thanksgiving, according to Halifax Health. Of course, we're all anxiously awaiting this much wanted project. Along those lines, Halifax Health is already requesting the city to consider the possibility of extending their current lease for 2 additional 10-year terms. Currently, the lease is 2 10-year terms, which is 20 years. The additional terms would make it 40 years. The current agreement already contains options to extend, and it provides for an annual CPI adjustment to the lease, which starts at $1,000. Now, in the discussion I had with Councilmember Politis, perhaps that's not enough. Maybe we would look to do the 2-year extension, then wait after the 20 years and see where everybody stands at that period, and then possibly renegotiate the price of the lease. So there's no haste in any of this. I just want to make you aware that that's one of the things that they want to do, so they're that serious that they want to partner with the city long-term.
Great. And does that seem like a pretty firm, I know they keep on saying, next week, next month. Do you feel pretty certain now that it will start right after Thanksgiving?
I do. I think they had some contractual, I won't say difficulties, but some obligations that they have to satisfy, and I think that the after Thanksgiving date will be firm.
Thank you.
That's what I anticipate. Chase Bank, the city has established with council's consent, an account, the new Chase Bank next to City Hall. It'll be much more convenient for staff. Now Kurt can walk across the parking lot as opposed to driving to Port Orange to make daily deposits. Economic incentives. In an effort to simplify the incentives offered by the city, staff and the city attorney are looking to clean up the work from our prior attorney and, quite frankly, from the committee. Now that we have a working knowledge of the process, we can see what needs to be tweaked. For example, I suggest that all future build-out grants be modified and paid out at the same monthly schedule as the rental assistance grants over a 3-year period. As with any new program, we have learned what works best to provide assistance to businesses while protecting our taxpayers. Madam Mayor, I have a few additional items that were added as of today, actually. One, we have some interest in the building next to our shopping center at 138 Beachcomber. The actual address of the property in question is 136 Beachcomber. It's an old convenience store, and there is some interest from a local realtor, from a group, to put in a cigar bar, cigar and wine, which would be very interesting in that area. We may have to make some adjustments to the ordinance to allow for that, but I think it's a very worthwhile undertaking. And number two, we have a gym looking to go into the Winn-Dixie Plaza where the last gym went and then went out of business. But I think these folks have a little different business plan, a little more community oriented. And that will be coming, both those I think will be coming before council probably in December. I know the gym will, I'm not sure about the cigar bar. And I wanted to give you an update on the bocce ball progress, and rather than try to paraphrase, I will read you what I received today from Steve Edmonds. Regard to bocce ball, I would love to say that everything is perfect and going to plan, but it is not. The shuffleboard courts have been sanded and are ready for paint, and hopefully with better weather next week, they will be finished. The bocce has electric done except for 2 hanging ceiling fans. I have metal roof installers coming next week to give quotes. Usually the lead time on that is 6 to 8 weeks after order. The balance of tongue and groove wood has been on order for 35 days and was supposed to be completed today. The supplier is contacting the mill to find out what the status is. Once I receive the wood, it will be installed and dry within a week. The fence that I thought was on order did not get processed and is on reorder, and I'm awaiting the install time. The clean COVID is making it harder to get the fence material. Tony says he will start the irrigation and clean up around the courts next week to make sure it looks more presentable, and we will not be able to landscape with the plants until the fence is in. So in short, it's going to be a little while. In the meantime, I've talked to our recreation director, Nancy Maddox, and we're going to put some bocce equipment, at least one set. We have an older set that we can put out there, so if anything does happen to it, we really won't be out much.
Okay, thank you very much. That was one of the little things that I wanted to follow up on. So it sounds like the work's still in progress.
Yes.
But my understanding is they can still play there, correct?
Oh, yes, the actual bocce courts themselves, and we do have people that have played quite a bit over there. It's very usable.
Okay, and then also they're getting a grill there, as
Yes.
they had before.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
gonna put some grill
Okay, all right.
in
And
there.
thank you very much, Nancy, for getting those set of balls there, because I know that was a big item. City Manager, I do have 2 other things that I would like to ask you about, and I think we had a discussion before we came in this evening. So right now, I know it's very hard to hear us with masks, but because of the COVID on the rise and we're not able to social distance, City Manager is going to check with our Community Service Director, Mr. Hyatt, about getting plexiglass. I see County Council has that, I know Port Orange does. So we're gonna look into doing that so that we'll be able to take off our masks, still be social distancing, and you'll be able to hear us a little better. So thank you for your patience putting up with us. So hopefully, Mike, we can get that done. Next thing is, because it's getting closer, can you give us a high level? As most of you probably know, we had to cancel the Christmas parade. It just was not the right time to have that, and no other city in Volusia County was doing that. But it was brought to our attention that several years ago, before my time, but Mike and Jan talked to me about it, that there was a decorating contest. So I think we'll have 3 categories. So can you expand a little bit on that, just to bring some festivity for the holiday season?
I'm glad you mentioned that, Madam Mayor, because we're going to try to get our Christmas decorations up a little earlier this year to increase Christmas spirit, given the situation that we have right now in this country. We're going to do a decorating contest. Again, there are 3 categories: condominiums, meaning the condominium building, single-family houses, and commercial. And they're going to be grants, and actually awards of prizes will be $300 for first place, $200 for second place, and $100 for third. So we're going to reinstitute that this year again in the hope that we can get people to come out, decorate, make their businesses, make their homes look beautiful, and do something a little special for the holidays this year.
Okay, and then also, the tree lighting, we're going to do virtual and post that. Okay, good. All right, so I want to let you know we haven't forgotten the holiday season. We're trying to be as safe as possible and still have people enjoy everything. So thank you again for your patience.
Can I ask, other activities like the appreciation dinner, those have all been canceled, haven't they?
Yes, yeah, we have decided that, yeah. Now, what we are going to do, that volunteer award, we're still talking about that, but our expectation is that we'll do it for that first city council meeting. So we'll decide who the volunteer will be, and then that's the Ralph Wheeler Volunteer Award. So we'll be giving that out, the city council meeting in December. So everyone come. Any other questions?
That's it.
No, Councilman. Okay, thank you very much. I'll talk a little bit later on, too, about some upcoming events that we are going to have. And I see our Port Orange Chamber President, Debbie Connor, is here today, so we're going to welcome her because now that chamber is open. Getting off track, but anyway, let's go on to old business. That's ordinance 2020-15, removal of background check requirements of fortune tellers, palmist. This is the second reading on that. Attorney Carey, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, this is ordinance 2020-15, an ordinance of the city of Daytona Beach, Florida, relating to fortune telling, astrology, spiritualists, and similar occupations, amending the Code of Ordinances, Appendix G, Land Development Code, by amending Section 14-61.1 entitled Zoning Confirmation, Certificate of Use or Habitability, providing for enforcement and penalties, providing for a savings provision, providing for codification, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date, and this is a public hearing.
Thank you. So since it's a public hearing, I know we didn't have any comments last month when we brought it up. Is there any comments or anything anyone wanted to say on this issue before we go on? Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion to accept this ordinance?
I move we accept.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on it whatsoever?
I think the people just need to understand that this is a legal thing that has been ruled illegal, and the city is removing it as a requirement.
Thank you. Chair, can you take a roll, please?
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Councilmember Politis?
Yes.
Councilmember Frizzlone?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, next, we are going to go on to ordinance 2020-16, shared off-street parking requirements. Again, this is a second reading. We discussed it at the last one. Can you read that for us, please?
Yes, this is ordinance 2020-16, an ordinance of the city of Daytona Beach, Florida, relating to required off-street parking and shopping centers, amending the Code of Ordinances, Appendix G, Land Development Code, by amending Section 2.2 entitled General Definitions, by amending Section 14.48 entitled Off-Street Parking and Loading, providing for enforcement penalties, providing for a savings provision, providing for codification, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And this is a public hearing.
Thank you. Again, last month, we had no public comment, but I'll give anyone a chance that would like to speak on this item. Okay, if not, do I hear a motion to accept this?
I move we approve 2020-16.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item, or does anyone need any further clarification? Okay, if not, Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Councilmember Bryan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer,
Yes.
Councilmember Flores,
Yes.
Councilmember Frislow,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next, moving on to new business. This is ordinance 2020-13, proposed amendment to Atlantic Avenue Estates LLC, Daytona Beach Shores Development Agreement 120-20027. Attorney Carey, can you read that ordinance for us, please?
Yes, this is ordinance 2020-13, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach, Florida, relating to the approval of amendment to the Atlantic Avenue Estates LLC, City of Daytona Beach Shores Development Agreement pertaining to the vacant property of Lewis County, Florida, tax parcel ID 6302-05-07-0150, generally located between 3824 South Atlantic Avenue and 3832 South Atlantic Avenue, in accordance with the provisions of the Florida Local Government Development Agreement Act, as set forth at sections 163.3220 to 163.3243 Florida statute, providing for implementing administrative actions, providing for conflicts, providing for city provision and the effect of the ordinance, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, as well as the correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. And this is not a public hearing.
Thank you, Attorney Carey. So City Planner Cruz, can you please tell us, I think this has been here several times, but can you give us a little update on this and what exactly is happening?
Sure, Madam Mayor, one second. If I can
Sure.
just pull up my presentation real quick. So this item was actually continued from October 27th, which was the last city council meeting that we had. And I'll just go over a brief overview of the project. So this is a development agreement amendment for Atlantic Avenues Estates LLC. The project, as the city attorney mentioned, is in the 3800 block, west side of South Atlantic Avenue. The applicant owner is Atlantic Avenue Estates LLC, Mark Scharf. The property is about 0.7 of an acre. And currently the entitlement or the zoning is RMF-3, which is the multifamily residential, medium density residential zoning district. But there's also the subject development agreement, which was approved in 2016, which is the subject of the amendment tonight. The existing use or the approved use for this project is basically residential duplexes, 4 structures with a total of 8 units. But earlier this year, we got calls from the property owner about conditions being changed in the market with regards to market demand on the east side versus west side, and just in general on beach side with regards to the duplexes and what they had planned, and also construction costs going up. So as a result, they submitted a proposed amendment to the development agreement on September 25th, which is a request for the option to build single-family residences on the property in lieu of one or all of the duplexes on the property, not to exceed the density that has already been approved. So basically, they're allowed to build 4 duplex structures, which for a total of 8 units. And now they want the option to, instead of building duplexes, they also want to have the option to build single-family residential structures as well.
Okay, so refresh my memory, I know this is one that we had a lot of residents input. Well, we had a surrounding area there. So at that time, what was his plan to build?
So back then in December and January, Madam Mayor, what he wanted to do was he wanted to double the number of units. So if you look at this chart right now, the second from the top, total number of units, the existing development allows for 8 units, which is basically 4 duplex structures. Well, he wanted to double it. But there was a lot of opposition to the proposal because essentially he wanted to do apartments. And obviously apartments, you know, from some people's perspective is not compatible with the neighborhood, and that's the reason why they oppose it. So this one does not increase the number of units or the density, and is not proposing apartments whatsoever. It's single-family residential structures that he wants to have the option to replace either one or all of the duplex structures. So.
Yeah. Stuart, how many single families can you put on 0.7 acres?
0.7 acres. So based on the way the development agreement is laid out right now, basically 4.
Yeah,
So he can go anywhere from 4 to 8 units on the property, but not more than 8.
Single family, he can build more than 4?
No. Units. So maximum of 4 single-family structures and a total of 8 units if you were to do all 4 duplex structures.
So this allows him to do duplex or?
Duplexes and or single-family. Correct. So in terms of all the development agreement requirements, those are met. The relevant staff review has been conducted. The Planning and Zoning Board reviewed it last month, I believe, and they unanimously recommended approval of the amendment. This is just an overview or an aerial of the project site. It's just across from the Blue Surf condominium on the west side of South Atlantic Avenue. You can see it's overgrown. This is a street view from Atlantic Avenue. You can see there's a hydrant, bus stop, and a bench. And so this is basically what is approved right now. All of these 4 blue squares, essentially divided by half, are basically the 4 residential structures, duplex structures.
And is that 1 story?
So in the development agreement is 3 stories, not to exceed 35 feet. And that's typical anywhere in Daytona Beach Shores. If you were to build a duplex, it cannot exceed 35 feet. And that is already approved. So in terms of the impact of this amendment, there's several scenarios, and I'll just go through a few real quick. So theoretically, the developer could put 2 single-family homes on the west side along Cardinal Boulevard and keep 2 duplex structures on the east side along Atlantic Avenue. Or he can flip them this way, or he can do 3 single-family, 1 duplex, or he can do all single-family homes. But the point is that the density is not increasing and nothing else is being changed, only to have the option to meet the market demand and increase in construction costs by having a single-family residential structure as an option to be built on the property. So the next steps would be a second public hearing by the City Council, which would be on December 8th, 2020, which is next month at 6 p.m. And site plan review, and of course, city and non-city permit reviews, and then construction. The development agreement still, the time period or the duration doesn't change, it's still 30 years. So staff is recommending approval of this particular amendment, and if there's any questions from me, I'll be happy to take those.
Has this been approved by Planning and Zoning?
Yes, it was last month.
I only had one question, Stuart. Why does the city receive $10,000 from the developer?
So when the development agreement ordinance was originally written, and it still contains this provision in the ordinance, a public benefit has to be provided. So he provided several public benefits, and one of the public benefits that he's providing is $10,000 per unit that would be used or collected at the time of CO, and that money would go into either community services or recreational amenities, or the replacement of damaged beach walkovers. As we know, they're pretty expensive, and we've taken a lot of hit as a city from having to rebuild those. So that was one of the few public benefits that he was providing in order for this land use contract to go through.
Thank you.
The site plan review, the site plan does not exist now, is that correct?
There is a conceptual plan layout, as I showed you earlier, with the 4 duplexes that is already approved by the city. So if the developer can go ahead and construct or build as is, or he can go ahead and replace one of those duplex structures with a single-family home. But whenever he decides to go ahead and do the duplex construction, he will have to submit a formal site plan, which includes stormwater review, landscaping, and all those other things that are typically associated with a full-blown review for development.
And do you expect the site plan will consider the whole 0.7 acres, or?
I don't know. That would be at the discretion of the property owner.
Is there a target date for completion of the approval?
So the duration of the agreement does not change whatsoever. It's still 30 years. So and we're in year 4, I believe, since the agreement was approved in 2016. So basically, he has 24 years to go ahead and make this happen.
Sounds like a long time to me.
Okay, any other questions before, or do we have a motion to accept?
I'll move to accept. I think it's a great project.
I'll second it.
Thank you. So any other further questions, or any other questions for our city planner? Okay, if not, Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Councilmember Politis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilman Quisalone?
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, our last item item on new business, and we talked about this a couple months ago, and we did not have the ordinance at the time, and Attorney Carey has written this up for us. So we had talked about the Planning and Zoning Board reorganization. Previously, this board had 5 members and 2 alternates, and because of another board that we were eliminating, we felt like, or the recommendation was made to us to have 7 on there. The chairman of this board has let us know that, you know, it's a little bit more difficult to work with that many people, so we'd like to go back to 5 with the 2 alternates. So if you want to read, and then we can talk a little bit about the ordinance. Thank you, Attorney Carey.
This is ordinance 2020-17, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach, Florida, Florida, relating to the membership, voting majority, and alternate members of the Planning and Zoning Board, providing for the amendment of section 14-62 and section 14-64 of the City Code of the City of Daytona Beach, Florida, providing for legislative findings and intent, providing for processes and procedures, providing for implementing administrative actions and responsibility for implementation, providing for a savings provision, providing for conflicts, providing for compensation, as well as the correction of privilege matters, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And this is not a public hearing.
Thank you, Attorney. Is there any questions on this? We had talked about it previously. Chairman Schmidt, is there anything you want to add to this? Anything you want to clarify?
No, we talked about it yesterday at Planning and Zoning. All the members continue to agree. I'd like to see us go to 5, and in the new paragraph about the alternates, we all read that.
Okay, great. Okay, and we don't want to interfere in how you run your board. You guys are doing an excellent job. So do I hear a motion to accept?
I move we approve 2020-17.
I second it.
Thank you. Any other discussions or any questions? Okay, if not, Sherry, can you take the roll on this, please?
Councilman Bryan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer,
Yes.
Councilman Politis,
Yes.
Councilman Frislow,
Yes, I also would like to thank John for your leadership that you showed here and coming up here and explaining the difficulty that you have. I think it's a testament to your leadership, and I think it's correct.
It's not real difficult. It's just more efficiency.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right. Mayor? Yes. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move on to council comments. I have a couple of comments here that I'd like to make. First of all, the issue has come back up again about naming the tennis courts, and I think a couple meetings ago, we reached out to the tennis community, and they felt that they wanted to keep that no names on it, didn't want to set that precedent. So just wanted to make sure that everyone knew. I'm sure people have a lot of suggestions, but as we're going forward right now, we are not going to be naming any of the tennis courts. The next thing I want to talk about is the chamber annex. And Debbie, do you want to come up? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think we've talked about this several times, and we are so excited. The Port Orange, South Daytona Chamber of Commerce now has an annex.
Shores Annex.
Shores Annex. You can talk a little bit about that, and then we'll talk about the walk on Thursday morning.
Okay, great. Yes, we opened the annex. We're going around, I'll take this over. We're going around to businesses in the shores, inviting them to put brochures or business cards or flyers, whatever they want in there, so that we can invite visitors to come in. So we've got some things in there now, so we're building that on that. We've had a few meetings in there, so we're just excited to have the office open. And Patty Tropia from our office is staffing it Wednesday through Friday, and then by appointment on Monday and Tuesday we're over there, whichever one needs to be over there. So.
Right, and this is located in the Christine Plaza, so it's just on the other side of public safety. That's 3060 South Atlantic. And again, we are so happy to have you. Do you want to talk a little bit about what we're doing Thursday morning?
So Thursday morning is kind of a symbolic event. We're going to be meeting at the Riverside Pavilion in Port Orange and walking through Riverwalk Park over the bridge. We're going to cut a ribbon over there and then walk back over with the mayors. So Mayor Miller, Mayor Burnett, and Mayor Hall. He's not sure about crossing the bridge. His knees are a little rough, but he's going to be with us on both sides and give people an opportunity to talk with the mayors and that. So it's at 9 o'clock on Thursday morning, and we expect it'll take about an hour.
Good, thank you we are so excited for this. Thank you very much. So everyone stop by to see the location. Thank you, Debbie. As I talked about before, unfortunately, we did have to cancel the parade. And as most of you probably know, all of the funds that were raised through that, it was Cerise Wentz, and she's done a fabulous job. Do you know how many years the parade has been?
I think 7 or 8 now.
7 or 8 years, and, and all these funds that she raised. So, just consider maybe making a contribution, a toy, because it's Operation Changing Lives. Last month or 2 months ago, Chief Davinsky did say that we are going to support them. They will be a 5K on November 21st. I'm walking it, I'm not running, but please come out and try to support that, because all of those funds will go for Operation Changing Lives. It begins at Krabby Joe's at 7:30 a.m. Okay, I think that's all that I have. So, Councilman Bryan, do you have anything?
I have a question about the 1900 or 2900, I'm sorry. When do we expect them to break ground now that they've closed?
City Planner Cruz or Councilman Frizzalone, do you happen to have an answer?
No.
City Planner Cruz, do you have any, or whoever would like to answer that, please?
I can just tell you that they've picked up their permits, so they're ready to go anytime I'm assuming it's gonna be pretty soon, maybe after Thanksgiving and everything, but they do have their permits in hand. They've picked those up and obtained them.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No.
Any other comments?
No.
Vice Mayor Londo?
I would just like to congratulate Richard and Michael on getting reelected and remaining part of this team. The team is working well together, and I'm so glad that we're keeping the team intact. Congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Councilman Frizzalone?
No comments.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Politis?
I think it's just great what Rick and whoever else was involved in the sale of that property. And like I said, the combination of getting it back on the tax rolls to generate revenue, plus also generating for the city. Then Kurt getting involved and writing off a whole bunch of debt, saving the taxpayers money, and eventually we're going to get rid of that additional ad valorem or that millage rate. Hopefully everyone acknowledges we're going in the right direction, and then all the development that's going on the west side, and little by little the incentives have been working. And of course, Mike Booker announced tonight that a couple other people may be coming, so it's great. It really is.
Thank you very much for those comments. I do not have any audience comments, but there is anyone at this time that would like to make any comment? Thank you. If you want to come up, Ed, and just say your name.
That's fine. Madam Mayor, council members, my name is Ed Offerman. I live in Demucci Twin Towers, South Tower. In all honesty, I'm going to preface my comment, and I will be brief, by the way, but I'm going to preface my comments by saying I'm a retired U.S. Army Chief Warrant Officer. And after the mayor honored me by asking if I could lead in the Pledge of Allegiance, it dawned on me that today is the birthday of the United States Marine Corps. Hoorah! and after it dawned on me, I thought, well, I should have said something, and I did not. So, in the warrior spirit, and remember, I'm a retired Army warrant officer. In the warrior spirit, I want to wish any of my warrior brothers or sisters out in the audience today, recognizing the concept of once a Marine, always a Marine. Apparently, Councilman Lindau understands that. But understanding that, and I'd like to wish them a happy birthday. If my arithmetic is right, which it may or may not be, 1775, I think it's the 245th birthday.
You got it right.
So happy birthday, Marines. Hooah, not hoorah.
Thank you for
It's hooah.
service.
Thank you, everyone. It was my honor.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to say anything?
Yeah, I guess.
Thank you.
Tony Rembazewski, 4 Oceans West Boulevard. I read the other day, Council Mayor, about that we were giving is it economic money or tax money to restaurants that are in distress? Can you?
So it's not really distress, it's an economic development plan that we came up with. What's it been, almost year and a half, a good year and a half right now. So I'll ask someone else to talk about it, but so it's not anyone that's in distress. It's to entice businesses to come into our city. So some of these new businesses that Councilman Frizzalone has talked about.
Oh, I have nothing to do with it. That's not fair. We're all team.
Okay,
I have nothing to do with it.
All right, okay.
I have zero to do with it.
Okay, so the economic development, as they were talking about, so when businesses come in, so some of the businesses, what I was going to say with some of the businesses that you were referring to, I wasn't going to say anything about that, that we will give them, so they have a couple different options, and there's a document, I'm going to go over it briefly, but there's a document, so you can either get a lease subsidy, so would pay X amount, 30, 20, or 10% of your rent.
Say the city.
The city, yes, okay. So that was one of the main reasons that we sold that property, to be able to fund that, to give money out. So again, enticing businesses to come in, preferably on the west side of town. So Rick, Mike, Fred.
And the other thing is the facades, to dress up the front, to update it. Like Millie's put a gazebo out front to accommodate outside seating, especially with the COVID. So we helped give a grant towards that. The lady that came last month for a grant to upgrade her properties too. So it's basically to dress up the west side and also afford more economic incentive for new businesses to come in.
So you're saying, Councilman, that we paid for that gazebo at Millie's?
No, only a certain dollar amount. There's rules, there's only certain percentages and there's certain limits. And once the fund is exhausted, there's no more grants available. So yeah, there is an economic incentive. Yes, we are paying to help keep them in business, so that way we don't have empty shells on the west side.
So existing restaurants.
Do you want to come up here so everyone?
I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry. Existing restaurants that are existing today that are finding hardships where.
No, it's not really hardship. City Planner Cruz, do you want to come up and explain a little more? It's something that's going to add to our city, either increasing their number of tables or something. So maybe High Tides would be a good example. They were only, they increased the inside.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, Madam Mayor, you might remember about 2 years ago, there was a visioning session that was facilitated by University of Central Florida, and there was a huge citizen turnout. And several things that came out of that included the West Side redevelopment and economic development incentives to foster economic development on the west side of South Atlantic Avenue. And so based on that, the city adopted an economic development incentive grant program. And that was done by an ordinance, I want to say maybe about a year and a half ago. So there are several things that are involved in this economic development ordinance. There's three major components. The first one is that if a developer were to come into the city and wanted to redevelop a piece of property with a high quality plan of development, the city council could theoretically rebate up to 10% of the purchase price of that property. And so that's what we did in the case of Oceans 25, the townhome project. And the other aspect of it is to also provide a lease subsidy grant to be as an incentive to attract new businesses into the city of Daytona Beach Shores, because one of the major complaints that the citizens had at the time was all these vacant units on the west side of South Atlantic Avenue. So the way the city council approved that component of the ordinance was to subsidize the lease for up to 3 years, capped at $20,000 for the first year, up to 30%, second year up to 20%, and the third year up to 10%. And then there was also, at the time, there was a provision for existing businesses, and that's what Millie's fell under, and that's what also High Tides, which is formerly the Beach Bagel restaurant, fell under, and also Daytona Diner, and they all got build-out grants capped at $20,000. But they would so for whatever amount of money that they spent, it was capped at $20,000, and they had to basically match that dollar for dollar or in excess of that. So those are the three components of the ordinance that was approved. And this, again, was pushed by the citizens 2 years ago when we had the visioning session.
I mean, does that help, or do you have
just one more thing. Is that public record that we can see what individuals?
Absolutely.
So the individuals that received It's public record.
Yeah, so we talk about it every, you know, it has to be approved by council. All right, so we're looking for targeted businesses. Again, if another breakfast and lunch wants to come into the Shores, we're probably gonna not approve that. I don't wanna speak for everyone on the council. So it's targeted new businesses that are coming into the Shores that will improve life in the Shores. But I guess there, you can go back. Sherry, how would he best get the ones that we've approved so far for the public
You
record?
can just call and ask for public records.
And they have the amounts and things like that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
One other thing I'd point out to you and the rest of the audience is that no taxpayer dollars are going into funding this. We use the sale of the property where the new townhomes are going in. We use the proceeds of that to fund the program. So you're not raising your taxes or using your tax dollars. It's being funded by the sale of that property.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other audience comments? Anyone else have anything else to say? Any questions? If not, who has an item for the next agenda?
Christmas party?
So we are not gonna have the appreciation volunteer / dinner this year.
Right, no.
So Sherry, we will put that on the agenda for next month about whoever receives the volunteer award. Okay, that's already on there. Okay, if no other items, thank you very much. Adjourned.